You're watching Console Conversations.
Hello everybody, it's me, WalterTheGermanyBall, back here with Console Conversations Season 3, Episode 11. Wow, it seems like just yesterday we started this season, and now we're already almost at the end, but, 15 episodes, that's a new record for us at Console Conversations, but I think for most shows it's not really a lot. So today we're starting the first of a two-part series titled The RPG Chronicles. And basically, the first part, we're going to be talking about all of our experiences with the Pokemon series, all of our thoughts about different Pokemon games, and in the second part, we're going to do the same exact thing for Paper Mario. So, I'd like to start us off because I've played almost every single Pokemon game. Hayden he's not a huge Pokemon fan, so I'll get us started. So, the first is Red and Blue. And, again, for the time, nothing compared. Absolutely nothing. When I go back and I try to play old RPGs, I see them and I'm like, wow, this really sucks. Because a lot of them are not very well designed. One of the greatest games of all time is supposed to be Phantasy Star. I played that again recently, and it is atrocious. It's so unfair, so badly designed. But Pokemon Red and Blue is one where you go back and you play it, and you go, wow, Owen Wilson, wow, that was great. You can play it in the modern era.
It's such a popular game.
Yeah. It's the best selling of all of them somehow. And it's just a massive cultural icon. It started the whole series. But then there's the problems. It's bad. Well, it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. But it's not great. It has a lot of flaws. For example, some very bad type disparities where psychic type is almost invincible. And then you have what's it called? Oh yeah, you have the entire glitch thing where there's so many glitches in the game, and all of this stuff. It all combines, and really the biggest thing is it doesn't have what's the post game, right? What is it? And it just doesn't have many many things to do. You beat the game and that's it. You can catch Mewtwo, but it's very difficult. So there's no post game, and it has a lot of problems. But
a lot of the games back then didn't really have a post game because of how much they could put on cartridges.
Yeah, and I get it. It's just comparing it to all the other games certainly doesn't stack up well. And then there was Gold and Silver. Wow. Was this a good game? Every part about it was just such a big improvement. It was the perfect swan song for the Game Boy Color era. And every part about it was just such a good design. But then they had the audacity to include the entirety of the first game, pretty much, in this new game. So basically, Red and Blue and Green and all those are useless in comparison because you can just buy and play Gold and Silver. And, well, you probably shouldn't even buy Gold and Silver, but I'll get to that later.
How did they put red and blue and gold and silver?
I don't know. I don't know how they would fit that. It's insane, honestly. But then they just knocked it out of the park, because next they had Ruby and Sapphire. And Ruby and Sapphire is, again, it's not perfect. And I think I still prefer Johto a little bit, just because of all the content it had in the post game. But this one, do not get me wrong, is so fantastically designed and memorable. Like, I can remember pretty much every gym leader, which I can't do that with most of the Pokemon games. And this is coming from a die-hard Pokemon fan who's played most of the games like 3 times over and over again, buying most of the versions. So, yeah, that's something. And it was just so meticulously well designed and so much of a bigger experience. It was advanced, just like the console itself.
Yeah.
And that's really it. It's just so good. And the remakes, well, I'll get to those later. But then there was Fire Red and Leaf Green, I believe. And these are probably some of my most forgotten ones, because I have never played them ever once. I've never played them before. And I think one of the reasons that I just haven't played them before is because I played Generation 1. And unlike most of the other remakes, it's barely any change. Like, the graphics are way better, but obviously. I think they added a couple more Pokemon, and there was a cool post-game that I really wish I could experience, but I don't really want to play through Gen 1, which is probably one of my least favorite generations, again, just to experience that, you know? So that's one I don't have a great history with. So before we go on to the DS era, Hyden, would you like to go ahead and share your thoughts on the Game Boy era of Pokemon?
Well, it's kind of interesting how they already made a remake to, well, in that time, they already made a remake to the first game.
Yeah,
which,
it is weird.
Which is interesting because most of the time you don't really make remakes like that unless it's like some type of anniversary.
Yeah, normally you wouldn't really remake games that are that new. Because it was only I believe, 8 years at the most. And that's not a lot. That's like if I decided, not many games came out in 2012. Well, that's like if I decided to remake Nintendo Land now, like a full remake from the ground up. Like, that just kind of be weird to remake a game that's that new. But yeah. And then there was the DS era, which in my opinion is just so good, just so good. So basically what happened was they made I don't know which is first. Or no, I do know which is first. So they made Sinnoh, which was the 4th gen. And I gotta be honest, I've never made my way through the 4th gen. Not once. I own Platinum. And yet I'm just like, nah, I don't really feel motivated. People sometimes will say and tell you that it's like one of the best ever generations. Too bad I don't know. And it's not like I think it's going to be bad. It's just I've never really gotten around to playing it, and that's kind of just sad. But then there's a little game called Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Well, games. And Heart Gold is my favorite Pokemon game. Now, here's why. I don't know. That's my reason. I don't know. It was just such a good and polished one of them. It remade them, had all the content, added a ton of new stuff. Like most of the Pokemon remakes, they add a bit, like a little bit of new stuff. But this one just like so many of these new battles, so many different types of battles, new roadblocks and trainers. I think there was a special edition of the Elite Four if you rematch them. New legendaries. You could even catch the legendary from the other game, which is a very good practice. And I think it's just because of all of this combined that you end up fighting so many trainers and you get so much XP and your Pokemon get to such a high level. And that's really what seals the deal for me with a Pokemon game. When your Pokemon gets to such a high level, you really have an attachment to them. And that's only happened with a few Pokemon games that have had enough great content. It's not really that common for Pokemon games to have that. But Heart Gold definitely does the best job, and that's why it's my favorite of all of them. And then there was the 5th gen, which is like a blur to me. After my favorite Pokemon game of all time, the 5th gen just kind of blurred. Like, I played through the entirety of, I believe it was White. Yeah, it was White, because I didn't think that, Reshiram looked cool at all. And, which, it doesn't make sense that the one called White is the one with Zekrom, and Black is the one with Reshiram, so it's opposite, so it's really confusing. But yeah, so I played White, and I really did like it. I really liked it. It was really fun, really creative. It had such interesting ideas, some really memorable set design. But in the end, it's for some reason one of the most forgettable, and I don't know why. Because when
Maybe
I
it's
played
because
it,
of the name.
yeah, when it's that confusing, it might be forgettable. And I think it was because you don't even battle the champion unless you go out of your way. And like that to me is probably why. Because it felt like it just got cut short. It was a much shorter one, but it was so good. When I really try hard to remember it, I only remember such good things. But I don't know why, I just can't remember it often. And then there's Black 2 and White 2. And while I do own Platinum, and I have played, like, one time I played up to, I think, the 3rd gym in Platinum. Black and White 2, I've never played them. Not once. I barely viewed any footage of them. And I don't think that's an unpopular thing. I think a lot of people, it's the same way. Because that's never happened before. Like, if you look at it, there's only been one other instance where they've done that, where it's been, like, 2 whole new games. And so I just have never gotten around to it, and I think one of the major reasons was I didn't really get into it when it first came out, and then now it's like $100. So I'm not going to pay that much for from what I've heard, is very similar to the first 2. So then that brings us to the 3DS era. And the 3DS era is one that we can both talk about. Or, well, actually, Hayden, sorry, I forgot. Would you like to share your thoughts on the DS games?
No, not really.
Okay.
I don't really have any opinions about them.
Alright, well then let's move on to the 3DS era, starting with Pokemon X and Y. And this is actually very funny coincidence, because this is, I think you said the only Pokemon game you've ever played is Y, right?
Yeah.
Well, I've never played Y, I've only played X for these two, so that's funny. But yeah, so X is interesting to me. It's
Mm-hmm.
probably one of the most crazy ones to me, because I barely remember it, but I also really do remember it. So
Yeah.
it's I have to people say Pokemon is way too easy. And
Yeah.
yeah, it is. Like, I'm not gonna ever defend that. All of the games, even the old ones, which most people think are hard, I think every single one is easy. Other than like a couple of them have like parts that are unfair, but they're all very easy, and I don't have a problem with that. But this one doesn't even like try, except for the second gym, which is near impossible. It's so ridiculously difficult, and they barely give you any Pokemon to catch in that span of the game that it literally is almost impossible. I'm shocked I ever beat it. Um, and then the rest of the game, like, yeah, it's very enjoyable and fun. And it was the first 3D one, so when I first played it, I was shocked. I was like, what? It was shocking to be like, you go from a black and white, very simplistic, like 4-bit Game Boy game to a fully fledged 3D, practically open world with Lumio City, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
shocking because I always considered Pokemon to be semi-open world, but this felt, at least at the time, like it was fully fledged open world. So I
Mm-hmm.
really did enjoy that, but other than that, it was kind of forgettable. So yeah, Hayden, you can go ahead and share your experience with Pokemon Y.
Yeah, I liked why. There was this one experience where I was at like the very like where you had to press the button or something, and my 3DS died, and I hadn't saved up to that point
Oh,
since like the third gym.
oh
So
god.
it died, and I had to play like most of the game over again,
Oh my god.
which was
That's really bad.
annoying. But
Yeah.
other than that, it was pretty cool how you kind of went back to other areas. But
Yeah.
uh, I mean, and I was at challenge like the the end like the challenge or is at the end or something like that. I forgot the names, but I was there for a while because I don't because my the annoying part about that one is that you had to beat all five of them in one like
Yeah.
battle without having all your Pokemon die, and
Mhm.
you couldn't go outside because then you'd have to do it all over again.
Yeah,
So that
that's always
was
been the
also really
one thing that is like a tradition in Pokemon that is sort of challenging. Like, that's really been the only one that has been like actually kind of challenging throughout most of the
yeah.
games. So yeah, and then there was Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and I actually absolutely like these games too. Um, it really really impressed me with how they were able to take the entire game and just push it to the limit. The graphics were great. Um, they just really took everything to a whole new level, and I really did enjoy it. Like, nothing about it was forgettable, and it's
Hmm.
just so fun. It's so good. Um, and then there was Moon and Sun, but we don't talk about Sun because I don't really like Sun. I don't really like Sun, and a lot of people think that Sololeo is better than Lunala, and my response to that is wrong, because no. Yes, you're only gonna get the best reasoning from me, and so the problem is with these ones, like, they had so much going for them. They had in my opinion, the best roster of Pokemon of all time, the best set design of all time. Well, at least for the time that I played it. The best characters, the best ideas, the best HUD, the best mechanics, and the best combat system of all of them. Had so many great ideas. So much of it was so fantastic. And the thing was, I have nothing bad to say about this one. A lot of people would say it's too easy. Wow, wow, wow. But for me, I don't care. Everything about it was just so fine-tuned. It was near perfection. It's my second favorite of all time. I'd say it's Heart Gold, then this one, then Moon, then 2 others, and then 5 would be Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. And then there was Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which I didn't really like. It was like, unlike Black and White 2, I did buy these and play them, but they were like meh. I didn't really like them that much. They were kind of just like boring and uncreative. I barely remember anything about them. And so then there was the Switch, and the Switch brought along with it Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. And it had been so long since a Pokemon game I had liked. 2 years. Wow, that's such a long time. And when they announced it, it was a couple months after I played Pokemon Go for the first time ever. Yeah, 2 years late to the trend. I'm really in touch with all the new gaming trends. It took me 2 years to get around to it. Well, that was probably just because I had no clue on how to use my phone for that entire time. Just clueless with how iPhones worked, and any cell phones really. And so the thing was, I liked it at the time. And that was just because at the time, I hadn't played much else that I liked for Pokemon in a long time. So I liked it. But now when I look back on it, I'm like, no, it wasn't very good. And the thing was, the graphics were great. And it had so many good ideas, like the catching minigame. It was the best version of Gen 1, in my opinion. Had quite a bit of new content. Like, not a lot, but some. It had some really good ideas, some really cool collectible stuff that sadly was way too difficult. And then, I really liked the idea of all the Pokemon being able to be seen. But other than that, no, it was boring and repetitive, and I didn't really like it that much. And then I guess I'll talk about Pokemon Go quickly. Yeah, it was okay. The first 2 weeks I played it, I was like, this is so nifty. So I played it all the time, and I really liked it. Every time I would go outside, I would use it. But then I was like, you know what? It's a hassle because, I'd be trying to play it while I'm walking my dogs, and then my dogs would pull on the leash, and I'd drop my phone, and I didn't want that to happen. So it's just inconvenient, and I started to get bored of it, because, once you catch, like, 50 Pokemon, you're like, okay, I've had enough. But other than that, it was fun while it lasted, and it's still popular to this very day, which is impressive, and it's a very innovative game for the time. And then there was Pokemon Sword and Shield, which I don't know what to say, because I really liked it. I really liked it. I really, 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 really liked it. But it just didn't do it. It could have been a huge breakthrough for the Pokemon series. Like, it had so many good ideas. Like, absolutely booming with fantastic ideas. And yet, none of them were that fleshed out at all. Like the wild area in the base game, it was bad. I didn't like it.
They
And that was the
should
only
have
place.
just made it all open world.
Yes. Well, the problem was Game Freak really tries. They really try. But then you have the Pokemon Company pushing them to make a new game like every year. So they aren't able to make that. So when the people say Game Freak is lazy because they reuse some old models, I'm like, it's over 1,000 Pokemon and they're being forced to make it in a year. Can you shut your yap for 1 second and consider that these people are trying their best? People are so inconsiderate of how hard these people work, and it really disgusts me.
They also have to create a new story, new characters themselves, new battles, a whole new world itself, and new mechanic.
Yeah, and everything that, like, the camera movement was a huge breakthrough. Being able to see the Pokemon improved. Everything was improved. My only really big problem was they didn't use the mechanics enough. Like the Dynamax battles, that was probably the second biggest thing. And so, as a base Pokemon game, it is the second best. No doubt about it. But as a whole, it's the fourth. Because of all those disappointing mechanics, the lackluster post-game, and that's really it. But, like, the graphics were really good. The music is fantastic. But yeah, so I really liked it. But then, we had the Isle of Armor. This is going to be, like, the 5th time, I think, that I've dogged on this game, and I finally gathered, after playing Crown Tundra and reviewing Crown Tundra, I've gathered all my thoughts together to finally dig into this game once and for all. Well, it's not really a game, but, okay, so all the flaws, I'm just going to list every flaw. Well, actually, no, I don't even have to list the flaws, I'm just going to list what happens in the game, and yeah, I think you'll get the point. So, it starts out, you have to catch a level 11 Slowpoke. You can't kill it, you have to catch it. So you have to go out of your way to find a weak Pokemon that won't kill it and then catch it. So that's annoying. Then you finally get there, and you're battling level 60 Pokemon. Really? Then you have the Diglets, which I'll give them credit for that, and I'll give them credit for the wild area. It's pretty good. It's pretty impressive. I really liked it at first. But the main story, you find 3 Slowpokes, so easy. You go to a location to get mushrooms, so easy. You battle 1 trainer, so easy. And then you have to level up and grind a Pokemon to 60 levels so you can play through 1 gym. That's the whole game. Really? That is disgusting. I mean, I'm not blaming Game Freak. I'm not one of those people. But it's almost like they went out of their way to make it bad. Like, this one, you didn't have to make the player grind out, right? I think what they should have done is begged the Pokemon Company and said, please, can you just let us put all of our resources and time into Crown Tundra? That's what they should have done. Maybe they did try that. And if they did, I applaud them for that. But I just wish that Pokemon Company would have listened, if they did. So then we have the final chapter, Crown Tundra. I've already reviewed this game, and I said pretty much everything I wanted, but real quick, I'm just going to say, it's just so fun. All the mechanics from the base game that were bad, or, well, not bad, but underused, used here perfectly. All the characters, so well animated, the graphics, so great, the new ideas, so great, the puzzles, so great, everything about it, fantastic. 5 out of 5. It's my 3rd favorite. But yeah.
I think the advantage that they had with Crown Tundra is that they already had the base game already made from Sword and Shield, so all they had to do was create a new world, few new mechanics, few new Pokemon, and a new story and new trainers, and that's all they had to do, which wasn't as much as they had to do with and they had a year's worth of time to do it as well. So so they had more time to work on it, think their ideas through. While with the first DLC, I forgot the name of it, even though you mentioned it like 2 minutes ago. Was they only got like 5. They only got like 6 months to work on it,
Oh
while
yeah.
having to do all that stuff as well, which makes sense why it wasn't that good.
Mhm. Yeah. They like, as far as I know, at the very, 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 very most, they would have had 7 months to develop
Mm-hmm.
Isle of Armor. Now, to be fair, they only had 4 months to make Crown Tundra.
Mm-hmm. Well, they
But
could have had 2 teams working on both.
that's probably might have been what happened. But yeah, it boggles my mind. So thank you guys for watching the first part in the RPG Chronicles. Be safe. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you again, everybody, for watching. And goodbye.
Mm-hmm.